Hello there, and welcome to episode 12 of the podcast of No Return. I'm Steve Monosson, and today we're got a couple of great things for you. We've got Gladys Unchained, as heavily advertised on social media in the last few weeks, and joining us again, straight from his Let's Date A Weirdo dating experience to tell us all about it, Mr. Eugene Crowley. Eugene?
Oh, thank you, Steve. Real pleasure to be back here again. I appreciate you bringing me here when I am in a moment of tender vulnerability.
Yeah, how was it? How was, sum it up, Eugene, or just sum it up.
Well, I put myself out there, Steve. I revealed some poetry I'd been working on. I revealed my personality. I delved into the deepest parts of my soul and my computer wire cable connectors, and...
Yeah, I don't know how that happened, because that was some of the finest USB poetry I'd ever heard.
Well, I appreciate your sincerity.
But you did end up with a date, didn't you?
Weirdly enough, no one ever mentioned to me a consolation prize, and I must say, Gug Quinoa really is a tremendous gentleman. We had a great time bowling, and we've actually, I'll take this moment to announce, we have formed a bowling league team.
Yes, well, we're going to get right into the sketch now. Gladys Unchained. We joined Gladys in her therapist's office. Take it away, sketch.
We're running short on announcers this week, so you might recognize this voice. At any rate, we now eavesdrop on a conversation at the office of Dr. Wallace Wentworth, preeminent psychotherapist and the author of the bestseller, Don't Look Now, But That's You in the Mirror. I know you've got one on your bedside table. We listen in to his session with the world-wise but long-suffering receptionist at the Last Chance Employment Agency, Gladys.
So, what brings you here today, Ms.
Gladys. It's just Gladys. One of the reasons I'm here is that off the top of my head, I can't remember my own last name.
Then you must have had your name changed legally.
What name change? I'm Gladys. Always been Gladys. I have a poetic friend who calls me the Eternal Gladys.
And, not to be presumptuous, but can I ask what is going on with your voice?
Been that way my whole life, Doc. Technically, my condition is called shprechen-like-ze-intercom-itosis.
I'm unfamiliar with such a condition.
Yeah, well, so is most everyone else.
What about your boss?
Hank? I don't think he even notices, because I've only ever spoken to him over the intercom.
Really?
Sure. Like the other day, when he engaged me in another one of his trains of thought, when the train decided to take the scenic route.
Gladys, by now you must realize that there's little moral high ground not shared by me and the founders of this great nation.
Being that I believe you want a serious answer to that question and I wish to continue collecting a paycheck here, I'm gonna have to say yes.
I appreciate your sincerity. Where would this world be without sincerity? Insincere, I say. 100% insincere. Ha ha.
I believe you sincerely mean that.
Oh, wordplay, Gladys. Yes, I do. So, being that I am a person of utmost sincerity and principles of historic integrity, I ask you, do you think the world would be in a better place if I was one of the founding fathers?
I'd say you'd probably look okay on a nickel.
What? A nickel? What?
Jefferson. He's one of the founding fathers. He's on the nickel.
That's right. He is one of the founding fathers, and he is on the nickel. My God, why, I just used a nickel the other day, and
Is there anything else?
Well, yes. Now that you've sent my mind a reeling, tell me this. Which side of my face do you think would be featured on the nickel? Because Jefferson's left is on the coin. I tend to think my right is where all the action is.
Actually, he's more of a full frontal these days.
Well, who isn't? Let's be honest. What we need is a return to the profile. My profile, for instance. You think I could petition the U.S. Treasury to choose which features of mine to highlight? Would I have some sort of say in that? Do I have any say in anything of importance? I don't know.
Sure, Hank. I think they'd be more than thrilled to work with you. Excuse me, but I have to go to the ladies' room.
I can see that your boss might prompt you to extreme, even dangerous, modes of thinking.
Nah, Hank's harmless. Some people think he's nuts, but if anything, he's fine and the rest of the world is crazy.
We try not to use terms like nuts and crazy around here.
I understand. Like, I'm not supposed to mention Susan Lucci at work.
Excuse me?
It's a long story. Another time, maybe.
Okay then. Why don't you tell me something about your childhood? Your family?
Well, let's see. What first comes to mind is me having dinner with my parents when I was 12. My family always liked to eat.
So how was your day, dear?
It was fine, Mother. I had a sarcastic remark for almost everyone I met.
That's wonderful, dear. One can't ask for much more than that.
And how about you, little Gladys? Anything I'd find remotely interesting about your school day?
Well, yeah, Pops. I almost got run over by the bus, but I threw Timmy Johnson in front of it instead. His parents aren't too happy about it. But I'm good.
That's the spirit. Those Johnsons would learn a thing or two from an asphalt dump. No great loss.
I wasn't serious, Pops. Nobody got pushed in front of the bus.
Ah, well, there's always tomorrow.
Father, you shouldn't encourage antisocial behavior. Sarcasm is one thing.
Yeah, Pops. I didn't want to say anything, but really, you're a bad influence.
I do what I can do.
And tell me, one more time, why does everyone in our family sound like we're on the other end of the telephone? I get a little tired of telling people it's because we get kickbacks from the phone company.
It's a little hard to pronounce.
Shprechen-like-ze-intercom-itosis. What's so hard about that?
It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
It's been in our families for generations, so she might as well get used to it.
What I don't get is that if it was in both of your families for generations, then why the two of you get married? If I ever want to get married and have kids, I'm gonna find a guy who speaks in falsetto.
The doctor said that since we both had shprechen-like-ze-intercom-itosis, that genetically the odds of us having a child with the condition was remote.
Yeah? And how'd that work out for you?
Having shprechen-like-ze-intercom-itosis is nothing to be ashamed of. I've led a full and happy life and hardly ever think about my condition.
But Pops, what if I don't want to work as an announcer on the New York City subway system?
Oh, you'll find a way. You'll find your way.
Which, as it turns out, is something my boss says a lot. So I guess the old man knew a little bit of what he was talking about.
We're almost out of time.
I know. I gotta get back to the office. Lunch break's almost over. Right about now, Hank's gonna run out of things to say into his voice recorder, at which point he starts talking into the intercom. He gets really disorientated if no one's on the other end.
We'll talk about this more next week.
If you say so. Whatever it takes to find life outside of the intercom, of which I currently have little.
Don't worry. We'll find your life.
It's kinda weird, Doc.
Everything is going to be fine.
You're not serious.
Will everything be fine with Gladys? Or is her therapist being disturbingly upbeat? Tune into a future episode of the Podcast of No Return and find out.
Gladys, I've been thinking about it. If I'm going to replace a founding father on a piece of money, which we can all agree is definitely going to happen, I think I should be on the $1 bill. Because when it comes to unemployment, the buck stops with Hank Panky. You get it? You see what I did there? The buck, I'd be the buck, I'm Hank Panky on the buck. What do you think? Gladys, okay. Oh, I get it. You're so speechless by the idea of me being on a dollar bill. I get it. Take a moment. Okay, Gladys, that's long enough. Gladys! Okay, Gladys, I want to know what you think about my face on the dollar. Gladys! Gladys, are you there? Oh my God. Gladys, where are you? Where did you go? Oh my God, Gladys, dear God. Gladys, I can't. Why can't I breathe? You can breathe, Hank. You can breathe. You're doing it right now. You're respirating, right? Gladys, I need a paper bag. Gladys! Oh, mother! Oh my God! Just make sure I'm on the. I'm fading. Just make sure I'm on the dollar bill, Gladys. Just put me on the dollar bill. I want to be on the dollar. No, the 5. It's worth more. Wait, the 10's worth more than that. Oh my God! Again. Oh, Daddy!
All right, Gladys Unchained.
Wow, it was truly harrowing to be in there and listen to her. her past and her innermost thoughts and secrets.
Yes, it's it's something you can't unhear. That's it.
Well, certainly. I feel like most people feel like that about every episode of this show they listen to.
You may be right, Eugene.
Well, I must ask, I was curious about this. Is this violation of some sort of HIPAA laws that we are listening to a therapist session with this patient? How'd you get that audio? What's going on here?
Well, I could say that we got special permission and so forth, but no, we bugged the place.
Oh.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
This is a sundry day in the podcast of No Returns history.
A sundry day. A sundry like any other day. I mean, I think maybe you mean tawdry or a dark day or...
No, I meant it's a Sunday that I do laundry. Sundry.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But so, join us for episode 13.
I still want to dive a little bit into the PSI of bowling. I was curious to do some research about that, and it turned out that it turns out the force and momentum you put on it is all dependent on your weight, and resolution to the ball is dependent on how far away you are when you step away to the line. Now, there are toe faults that...
Eugene, I'm curious, did you use a star ball?
A star ball? No.
Yeah. One of those kiddie balls,
Yes. I originally Gug Quinoa offered me a 18-pound ball, and after my wrist recovered, I was able to adapt to the 5-pound.
Did it sparkle? One of those sparkly balls?
How'd you know?
We've bugged everything.
Oh, what is going on here? Is this office? This space is bugged. Oh, hi. You will be hearing from the ACLU, mister.
I always enjoy talking to the ACLU, and they always manage to wrangle a donation out of me. So, join us next week, episode 13, for The Stick-Up.
Oh, my. All kinds of criminal activity. Oh, boy. Gets the heart thumping.
And with that, we'll see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you can subscribe to the podcast and No Return. It warms our hearts. Thank you.
And now, back to our sponsor, Watermelon.